You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name's Dave, and this is a Fistful of Podcasts from FFOPradio.com. Back for another great week. Let me introduce you to my co-host this week. It is once again an unusual rotation in the schedule, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that Randy's back on the show. Welcome, Randy.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So, also, we have to give special mention to Krista because she's over there.
I am on the couch.
So there's that. So, Randy, it's been a while.
It has been.
How is the life of a green grocer treating you?
So, the life of a grocer has been crazy. We're currently in the process of rolling out online shopping, kind of like what Walmart does. So, I'm one of the district trainers for that, so I've been traveling the state.
Really? Let me ask you something, because everybody is like, they want to extol the virtues of Uber Eats and stuff, and I'm like, I feel like that's no safer, but so you work around food, so I want your opinion, because there's nothing guaranteeing the people collecting and or cooking and or delivering your food are not infected and just I need money, so fuck it.
There are no records or reports or anything saying that COVID is spread through food. I've told you that before.
I know, but half of these yahoos show up with no mask or their nose is out or, I can see their exposed asshole as they walk out of their, their burnt out El Camino with all our groceries.
So the way it works in my business, being New Hampshire, we're pretty rural. Most of our groceries are pickup. So we shop the groceries, we hold them, you come park, and we bring them out to you. We have our sanitizing bottles. If you're getting ID'd for a certain product, we hold up a little shield so there's a separation between us.
Yeah.
As far as the delivery drivers, because we do have a couple of stores where are that's a whole third-party company. I can't speak to them, unfortunately.
What's crazy? Well, it's different to me because you guys on the East Coast, are taking it semi-seriously. At least I'm getting reports of it. And here, it's just people are think it's still just a facade. It's such a weird.
My mom literally today got groceries delivered through the third-party place, and all of her groceries smells like cigarette smoke. And she got charged for two things on another person's order that was wine, and she didn't order any wine. And she contacted that third-party place, and they're like, well, we don't see that on your receipt, so sorry.
Well, we don't, there's no smoke on my receipt either, but it's all of my groceries. Yeah.
But I've had almost all of my experiences getting groceries, either pick up or delivered, were fine.
Well, so whatever, Randy, you're on the inside.
Yes, sir.
Are you seeing people be like, because you wouldn't be that guy show up with a runny nose and just try and work through your shift. I'm sure you'd get spotted.
So in order to start our day, we have to go through a screening process, and it's this little tablet. It's do you have any symptoms of COVID? And then it checks to make sure you're wearing a mask, and then it will scan your temperature to see if you have a fever.
All right.
I'll tell you, if you even have the sniffles, you're out for 10 days. It's hard to run a business like that.
Oh, for sure. Can I make one recommendation? I would augment all of the tests and screening by adding one thing and one thing only.
What do you got?
You take a small petri dish of blood from everybody entering and put a piece of copper wire that you heat with a blowtorch into it to make sure that they're not the thing.
We might have to get some waivers signed, but I'll see what I can do.
It's a wild idea, but it's like the guy who trains for the elephant attack at the peanut drill. If it never happens, thank God. But if it does, you'll be the one to be like, oh, God, that's a thing. Because you'll have the blowtorch and then you just light them up. But eventually word will get out. I'm sure things will avoid your specific grocery store.
Right, and then you wouldn't have a job.
Well, no, I'm not. There wouldn't be but like we're not going to be.
I'd probably get transferred.
Yeah.
We're not going to be supplanted by things. I'm hoping it'll be just like a 1 or 2 off thing where it's like, or maybe there's got to be another test to find out if they're wearing like a Total Recall Arnold Schwarzenegger style lady head. You seen that movie, Randy?
I saw it a long time ago, and I've seen the new one with Colin Farrell. And
fuck that.
I don't think that's particularly good.
No, so the old one, just as a refresher, Arnold is trying to get on or off Mars, whatever. He's got to go through a security checkpoint. The details are unimportant. So, everybody's looking for him. Michael Ironsides is like, "Where are you, Arnold?" And there's a big lady with red hair coming through, and she starts wigging out. And she's like, "Ah!" And it culminates in like her head coming off, and it's Arnold underneath this robotic lady head, and he throws it, and it's also a bomb.
Whoa.
I forgot why I started telling that story.
I have no idea.
It's a good one, though.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we have body doubles in the store.
Oh, yeah. So, we need a test to find out if somebody is wearing a robot head and shoulders that's also a bomb. I have no solution for that. I got you covered on the thing problem, though.
All right, I'll talk to my superiors and see what I can come up with.
So I found something completely by happenstance that I thought you may like, because I know you're one of the people in my life who likes history of things.
Yes.
You're intrigued by stuff. So I'm only drawing conclusions because of everything involved. I cannot tie these two things together, but I think that based on a small documentary I saw about a punishment called getting the sack is what led to getting sacked, like fired in England.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Like, getting the sack has existed like almost before written language. It's like the craziest punishment in the world. Almost exclusively saved for children who kill their parents. Or vice versa. Like if there's a blood murder, you get the sack. So there's a million different permeations, but I'll start with my favorite. So they put you in a sack with a very angry monkey or ape, whatever they can find that's nearby and angry and strong. They'll throw that in there. And the other things they throw in there feel just like icing on top of icing. Because after the ape, there's an angry dog, sometimes a cat, and also a snake, like typically a viper of some sort.
How big is this sack?
So it's a little lady that swallowed a fly, except for Patrick's.
Yeah, and it's all going in this sack, and then they sew you up in it. So you're, God knows how they are sewing you up in the sack as you're fighting off a monkey and a dog and a rooster and all these other crazy animals. That's not the end of it.
How many kids are killing their parents that this can be coined as a term?
It's mentioned very rarely, I'll say that. So it's not like it was happening all the time. It was picked up by very few cultures. This is like, but Germany kept it alive the longest. I did learn that. Germany was doing it like all the way into like the mid 1800s. They were still they were putting dogs and cats and snakes and monkeys and like all kinds of zany shit into these sacks. It didn't happen very often, but when it did, it was like they were stuffing a time capsule. Whatever. Then there's different, like the sack could be maybe made of leather. So when they throw you in the water, you'll sink, but you won't drown. So you're still fighting everything in the sack with you, but also running out of air. Or you could be put in a linen sack, and so that's what you would hope for, ideally, because then you would just drown, and you wouldn't have to keep fighting these wild, enraged animals underwater in a sack.
And they also kill the
Right
animals.
out of your misery.
Yeah, people in the olden days were cruel. Animals were just expendable resources. So, like, you can't be like, oh, the poor, obviously, like, but it's so crazy to me. They're just like, oh, what? Okay, so a dog, we got a cat, we got a rooster. Like, it would be one thing, because it started with just, the earliest things were just snakes. They throw 1 or 2 venomous snakes in there, and they'd seal you up. And it'd probably rough you up a little bit. God only knows. Like, because the punishment is captured like carved into clay tablets. So I'm sure they weren't
I can't imagine you're going into a bag pretty willingly
Right.
either.
Yeah, not only that. So imagine like you being a condemned criminal, with the criminal justice system that was available to people who had clay to capture their written language. So God only knows what their evidence gathering was. And then being fought into a bag with all these crazy animals, and then they'd have to show you up into it. They must have had like a real quick way. Like that's probably how the drawstring was invented.
Probably. I was going to say it's probably a drawstring.
They were like, we got to find a quicker way to get these motherfuckers in this sack. So they were like, drawstring with like a wooden bead, just zip, tie a quick knot.
Probably tired of getting attacked by the animals trying to sew the person up
Right.
in
Yeah.
there.
Could you imagine like having like a little Betsy Ross type seamstress like waiting there like with a really sharp sewing needle and a thing of thread like around her fingers, just like waiting to jump in there to be like, brrr, boom. No, because it's like, but it predates metal. So they would have to be like, drawstring, maybe with like a bone, something. Like the ingenious ways humans think of to like destroy each other is like gross, but also fascinating because it's like you must have experienced this, Randy. If you've ever been to a medieval times type thing or a Renaissance festival.
I have not, but I've always wanted to go to one that we have locally. I just haven't been able to.
It's a bizarre experience. I say go at least once. If you can stomach
I fully intend to.
Yeah, if you can stomach it, whatever.
I want to get like a sword to put on my wall.
Oh God. Go to Etsy. You don't need to be embarrassed in public. But what the point of that is, like, one of the most popular things, like beyond the all the jousts and like the fake king and queen ceremonies and all shit, is always like the torture exhibits. There's one locally that literally shuts down the town now. It's so big. And I shudder to think of what their torture castle is now. But they had a full-blown castle dedicated to wandering through and seeing all these different, like, the thumb screws and the rat cage and all this and that and the other thing and the Catherine wheel and yada, yada, yada. And, like, they would be like, oh, it's time for the joust. And you look into the stands, there's, like, 8 people, one with, like, a paper crown. One kid's got is in a wooden sword fight with his brother. But meanwhile, the torture chamber is off the hook always.
I've never been to one.
It's medieval.
My cousin's super into all that shit.
Yeah, it's not a very thick line for the two types of people who go to Renaissance festivals. You go there because you spent a lot of money on a costume and want to be the Dread Pirate Roberts. Mm-hmm. Or you're the other type of person who goes there to maybe get a nice souvenir, see a few things, and laugh at all the people who've wasted so much money on leather boots and like chainmail.
Yeah.
I get like dedication to a hobby. I get that. But I also do not like hobbies that are like dedicated to hassling people. Like people who show up to Renaissance festivals in their own costumes are there to hassle people so they can like get into the character and do the accents. And that's on your own time, bitch. Don't make your hobby the pain in my ass. Is what I'm getting at, Randy. So when you go there, when you finally
Have you ever been to a medieval times?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
How do those compare?
They're much more enjoyable simply because you're not wandering through like a bunch of yokels. You're planted watching an entire show.
All right, that's fair.
So it's all about the show and like the jousting. Everybody gets a team. Like the one time we went when I was a kid, and we've got whatever a few times, they give you like a little flag. Oh, you're the green knight, you're the silver, you're the orange, and so it's kind of like watching indoor football with swords.
Okay.
But yeah, a Renaissance festival or Renaissance fair is a completely different animal because no one's showing up to a medieval times in a frock or a codpiece or any other zany shit. Like, it's cosplay. Like, if cosplay weirds you out, then it's going to weird you out because it weirds me out.
Yeah, I could see myself going to a medieval fair, but I'm definitely not going to dress up. Like, to play the part.
And it's so It's so crazy. Like the amount of self-awareness. Like when people get into character, they must lose all sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
I say that simply because of this one instance. We were at a restaurant while up the street a ways, the Renaissance Festival was in full swing. And my back is toward the door, which is a bad defensive move. You always want to have your face toward the door. My back was toward the door, and the people I were with was like, oh my God. So I spin around, and these 3 enormous women clad in gypsy outfits that almost exclusively were beads. It was like beads and sheer satin and like skid mark stained, whatever.
Oh, beautiful.
It was, and then the Dread Pirate, Chode walks in behind them, and they like, they were like the scrubs of the people who dress up. Because I'm sure if you're one of those people who dress up and you will throw all your money into that sort of thing, these type of people must have driven you crazy as well if you saw them, because they were dressed like literally homeless gypsies. They were insanely overweight and showing so much doughy skin. It looked, it was like if the Pillsbury Doughboy had like sister wives who were also gypsies.
Just got pressed into a vat of beads.
Yeah, it was in.
Oh my God, can you imagine the indentations? Like taking it off? Ugh.
I can't. It was so strange. And just like, since they were in character and in costume, it was like, yep, this is totally fine. And God knows what they're like in real life, because we're so close to a Walmart out here. That could just be them. I would like to give them
this is their everyday clothes.
Yeah.
I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that like everything in the closet isn't Lycra or whatever.
They didn't even go to the Renaissance Fair. They just left their house and went to eat Chinese food.
Oh my God! And
they took a wrong turn.
And it's then there are so many shades of sad when any type of festival or convention. If you get a whole bunch of people together in regards to anything, there's going to be a rainbow of like success.
I've been to
and
a
sadness.
Comic-Con before. Like the East Coast Boston Comic-Con, and let me tell you, it stinks.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
It smells so bad.
It's such a strange. Well, and there are obviously various things attract various people, but typically you'll find like a smattering. We've never been to a Comic-Con where I haven't seen like an 11-year-old with a grandma or a grandpa or whatever alongside like the dude who's busting out for a day. Like, he's gonna see the sun, he's gonna wear his because every sad fat kid in Arizona seems to have a Heath Ledger Joker costume, and so that one year it was just like thick with them. Like,
Yeah.
When you imagine like the rolling plains as pictured in the Star Spangled Banner, like imagine all the grass just replaced with sad fat jokers waving in the breeze, and their sad faces and dark green hair.
Gross, wispy hair.
Yeah, and they would all congregate in smoke breaks together. Like, they'd all just sort of shuffle out, and there'd be like 3 or 4 of these Heath Ledger Jokers, all 200 plus pounds over the target weight, just sort of smoking, being like, "Yeah, here we are. This is the first day of the rest of our lives, gentlemen. This is my last pull of this camel, and let's get back inside." I
dated a guy who did a really good Heath Ledger Joker when we were in college. I mean, but he was tall, skinny. Like, he was creepy. It was weird.
Yeah, and that's it's not hard to make a good costume, because you just have to commit to the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care how much money you throw into it, Randy. If you're gonna dress up at this Renaissance Festival that you are now definitely going to, commit to your character. That's what'll make or break it. Like,
make it work.
Yeah, the most annoying thing to me is like at a Comic-Con when someone will throw $1,000 into a costume, whether it's Marvel anime, giant robot, their Master Chief or whatever, and they're just standing around all hunchback. Like, carry yourself as that character at the very fucking least. Like, when I show up,
a big gulp.
Yeah, like when I show up places and I'm dressed up for the part, I try and act it, because it's not like when you look at those characters, like if you look at a Superman comic, it's not the suit. Like, if he were a slouched humpback motherfucker who didn't carry himself upright in that suit, you'd be like, pass.
Yeah.
Get into character. Like, carry yourself better. Like, if you're Deadpool, like, commit to that character. Be like a physically fit looking or at least agile and movable dude.
I feel like Deadpool is too overdone. Like, too many kids are just like, oh, I got this hat, so I'm Deadpool.
Everything's overdone. So there's nothing you'll ever see like you won't see a million times at a Comic-Con.
Yep.
But that's part of it too. Like, that's what's going to make or break it. Like, it's, there's going to be a million Jokers wherever you go. If you can bring your personality, your character into that costume and make it pop, everyone will be wanting to take a picture with you.
Right.
Like, they'll pass by the sleepy Jokers. They'll pass by the sad Oreo mustache Jokers. You put some pizzazz into that shit, or like whatever. You want to dress up like a pirate or a knight.
Remember when I was Silk Spectre? We went to like my first Comic-Con.
The rules are different if you're a lady.
Yeah, because I got people wanting to take pictures of me, but we saw like 2 or 3 other Silk Spectres who were very overweight.
Yeah, not good.
and those gross guys.
The rules are completely different for literally every subset and facet of society, because, and also there are variations within that. Because like, if Krista were not dressed up as a comic book character, she would still be ogled, but not like have the like plausible deniability of being like, hey, can I take a picture? Click, now I can burn one down when I get home. Yeah, so if you're a chick with big jugs, like, no one's gonna care. People are gonna blow you up no matter what. Like, so this is basically for all my dudes out there. You're gonna have to work to sell that shit. And it's, I realize it's sexist and it's a 50s mentality, but I can't change how the human brain works. If you're a lady and you have a Spider-Man costume on, like, you're a pig in a buffet. Like, everything is your oyster. Nothing is off limits. Like, if you're a Joker coming to a Comic-Con, you are a drop of water in the sea, my friend. And if you don't start tap dancing or get the impression down or get really good makeup or at least carry yourself, something. Randy, back me up on this.
Yeah, if you're gonna make the time to be the outfit, make sure you're the best for that outfit.
Yeah, like,
you don't just want to be like some schlub who put on a t-shirt and thought, "Oh, this is my full outfit. Like, I look good."
There was a Halloween party I went to that I adopted a character for, kept it all night, and was exhausted, but it was probably the most fun I've ever had.
What was the character?
Basically nothing. Like, for my entire childhood, I kept being told we were poor, so I had to recycle the same Grim Reaper costume for umpteen years. So one of these years when I was reusing it, my grandmother gave me a piece of fabric that was like lame on one side and shiny but black on the other. But if you held it close to your face, you could see through it, but people couldn't see my face. Oh. So I could black out my face and put my hood up. And so I was this mute character. Like, I wouldn't talk to anybody, but I would interact and exchange tickets, and I would run around, like, spook people and scare people. and it was this like huge big like Halloween carnival, and I pulled, I thought it was like the perfect time to, because no one could see my face. I'm sure everybody knew who I was. Like, I was the same kid who had the same fucking Grim Reaper costume for the umpteenth year in a row. But I was like, I'm a real mysterious character, and I was like, but it was fun. And like, if I had just wandered around the party or the carnival, being myself, it would have not been anything to remember and look back on. But now, like, it's something to. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something like it. Going to Comic-Con, you should be like, all the emotion, like, you should be feeling it, like, getting into it for like the character, for photo shoots and shit. Like, you want the attention, right? Like, you're dressing up to get attention. Don't then shit on your own biscuit by having a shit slouch and like an ugly frown and shit. Like, pump up the volume, bitch.
So I remember a Halloween party I went to a few years back, and this one kid went as a killer clown back when like the clowns were around, like just popping up in places, and he stuck to that character the whole party. He would just disappear into bushes and jump out at groups of people that were all around the party, and we all knew like what he was and who he was, but he would just disappear throughout the party and just pop back up out of nowhere and scare people. He committed to that role.
That's a good point, Randy. Here's a disclaimer. Don't be a fucking weirdo character. Like, be self-aware enough that if you get into a costume, don't be the fucking weirdo at the party.
Well, yeah, I don't think this kid had a choice.
I know.
This is who he is as a person, too.
I realize there are going to be some people who have... that can't be reasoned with for one reason or another. But I'm saying it's easy to slip into that person because you're whatever at a party and you're wearing a costume or you're out and that's why these people are so annoying at the goddamn Renaissance festivals, because they get so into being a fucking 14th century beggar and they're grabbing your pant leg asking for coppers, and you just want to be like, don't you have a fucking life? So maybe there's a thin line there. There's a thin line between like getting into character and being appealing and charismatic and pushing it to the extreme and being like,
going too far.
Because that's the thing. I realize and understand that dressing up in costumes is fun. It's inherently fun to dress up in something you're not. I get that. But don't be a fucking weirdo about it. Like, I feel like that's been my motto for this year. Don't be a weirdo about shit.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good motto just for everyday life.
Yeah,
like, don't be a weirdo.
Apply it to everything. If you find something you like, get into it, but not to the point where you're a weirdo about it. And for some things, it's a very shallow pool. Some things I would just stay out of altogether. But the other things that are completely above boards and acceptable, like, get into it, but don't be one of those weirdos. Like, let's say, like, YouTube is a really great way to find out if you're a certain type of weirdo. Because all it takes is, like, one accidental knife sharpening video to somehow sneak into your queue. And then before you know it, you're like, well, fine, I'll give it a go. And then you watch 14 knife sharpening videos in a row, and you're like,
you've fallen down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, then you're planning on getting like a shop and a whetstone and a collection of knives, and it's a slippery slope.
Like, that's one thing, and then there's the people. So I like houseplants. I have a collection of houseplants. I'm in houseplant groups on Facebook, and some of these women, or even men, some of these people in the groups take pictures with their plants naked, like
what?
Like boudoir type shoots with their plants, like around their genitals and stuff.
Yeah, people can turn anything into a sex pervert thing.
It's weird. I mean, I some of them are pretty, whatever, but like, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at your plants.
Like, here's what I know everybody who gets super into something thinks that other people look at them and say, oh man, they are an expert on XYZ. But
yeah, they're the coolest.
Yeah, but when you flip that coin, you're just that weird blank guy or girl, or whatever. You're that weird blank guy. You're that weird knife guy. You're that, like, if you love guns, you're that weird gun guy. If you're really into like building, woodworking, and that's all you can talk about is like, you're that weird woodworking guy. I don't care what the hobby or interest is. Like, when you get too into something, it's like a weird alarm bell, because you're like, where is all this extra energy coming from, and like this strange adherence and dedication?
Well, I think this kind of plays back to a thing you talked about a couple months ago. At this point, was like the surprise characteristics of people that in all this time, and they let their crazy out for half a second. You're like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah, and it's bizarre, because you can have a hidden crazy or a hidden talent. And what's always more shocking to me is the hidden crazy. Because a hidden crazy is so much different than a hidden talent. A talent you can be like cultivating, but like, oh, I'm not good enough. A hidden crazy is like, you're keeping it hidden because it's crazy. But
yeah, there's conscious effort to keep that under wraps versus a talent like maybe it just didn't come up.
But then the dichotomy of like, I'm not telling this person because I know this is crazy and they'll react in such a way. So you're admitting like other people think this is crazy. Like, because a talent is like completely different. Like if someone you accidentally run into and have known for 40 years now, like you run into a piano and they just sit down and play Rachmaninoff, you'd be like, what the fuck? And they can be like, oh, it's whatever. I'm not very good. I don't like it. I just thought, I was moved by a moment. Whatever. That's like a pleasant surprise. The other side of that coin is like, it turns a pleasant evening into like a very awkward dinner. Because instead of being like, oh, you play the flute, it's like, oh, you believe in Bigfoot? And then you have to ride out the rest of that encounter trying not to be like, Full disclosure, I've got crazy things I believe, probably. I can't think of any right now, but they do pop up from time to time.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
But like, there's just some things that are more socially acceptable than others. And like, everyone's entitled to their conspiracy theory as long as they're not shoving it down somebody else's throat.
Yeah, but that's part of it too, is like you don't know what you don't know. Because your home base, your palate is what you know. And so something you do every day, someone else could be like, it's weird. Why do you do that? Like, I feel like that's every time someone watches a documentary of a different culture, like if it's Greek or Chinese or Japanese or Indian, they watch people's day-to-day life and they go, oh, how do you live like that? It's so weird and gross. Like, that's their day-to-day thing, man. Like, that's all they know.
That's how they work.
Yeah.
This is their everyday.
So it's you have to keep that in mind, because I always test the water before I tell somebody something that I think might be weird about myself.
Well, that's even doing things physical, like you were saying about people's day-to-day life. Like, there have been times where I'm doing something in the kitchen and David's like, why are you doing it like that? That's bizarre. Why are you cutting whatever the way you're cutting it? Or it's like, well, that's how I've learned. Like, I don't know.
But that's a different situation. That's situational awareness. Like, you, in that situation, you are fundamentally working against your own body mechanics. And I was like, what the fuck is going on over here? And you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. It wasn't like, that's how I learned. You said, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I said, obviously, because it looks like you're trying to kill yourself over this chicken breast. A completely different situation.
No, they're other, like cutting peppers. You don't get why I cut peppers the way that I cut peppers, because you're like, it wastes the whole thing.
Well, because it does. When I see like a quarter of a pepper in the garbage, you're like, well, I had to get the top off somehow, and the first 3 inches of the pepper was just collateral damage.
How do you cut peppers, Krista?
Straight down the middle.
How I learned to cut peppers is to cut the top of it off and remove all the inside shit.
You roll them.
Yeah, that's a good technique. Yeah, the roll method is good. I just do the classic strongman ripping the phone book method. I stick my thumbs into
them in half.
Yeah, I stick my thumbs into the top of the stem, pop that baby in like a milk carton, rip it in half, and then crack all the shit into the. And then you don't lose any pepper. You just lose all the seeds in the spout, the stem,
Spout.
the spigot. What'd you call it? Bidet. Mm. So that's I won't be like, that's a weird way to do it if it's an efficient way to do it. If I look at it and it's like weird or wasteful, either like physically or energy wise, I'll be like, what? But if you want to do a thing,
it works.
Yeah. If you want to do a thing a weird way, fine. But when I ask you and like, why? Because that seems like there's a waste here, there, or this, that, or the other. And the answer is like, never thought about it. The situation there is situational awareness, not necessarily self-awareness. But also possibly, being a human's complicated. Disclaimer. Being a human is complicated. So trying to figure out how every part of yourself and your intellect all intermingle.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, good luck. But if it feels weird, here's my advice. If something you're doing feels weird or unnatural, stop and think. Be like, why does this feel weird? If you're cutting over your left hand with your right hand so that like your shoulder's up in the air and it looks like you're holding down a live chicken to saw its head off, I would say this feels like a overabundant use of energy when I can simply just drag my hand with the knife through the chicken breasts, as slow or as fast. I don't need to hold it down like it's Stone Cold Steve Austin got me in a stunner and now it's time to pay him back with an armbar. That's just me.
Now I just buy chicken breast fillet so I don't have to cut the chicken breast in half. That's easier.
However you want to solve the problem. It's up to you and your resources. Because if like a rich person, they say, "Oh, I've got this problem," and if they throw money at it and somebody else solves it for them, it's still solved. It's no less legitimate way to solve the problem. But I would say I would take the route where you learn something.
I think it was Bill Gates that said he would hire his laziest worker to do the most difficult task, not as a punishment, but because they would find the easiest way to do it.
Exactly. That's what you want. Everybody's looking for path of least resistance. I think the more I think about it, like you don't want, like if I started a business, I would want to walk that line between someone who's a hard worker and someone who's a little lazy, because like the hard worker is going to be great to have as an employee, probably, but not cool to hang around because they're going to be like a head down worker bee soldier like ant, and they're like, yes sir, no sir.
Yeah, it's their whole life.
Yeah, I would like to have somebody lazy at times because they're going to find the path of least resistance and maybe streamline a lot of the shit around here. But yeah, this show is quickly becoming like how is it? What's it like being a human? Like it's impossible. All I'm saying is, well, I mean, it's possible.
The hardest thing you'll ever do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the toughest thing you'll ever do. It is possible. People do it every day and are doing it right now as we speak. So I don't want you to get freaked out like it's impossible. You can do it. Believe me. But everybody's a beta test. Everybody is trying to make the next generation like the ultimate, the alpha. But we're all just sort of beta tests, bumble fucking around. But again, my advice is perfect and still stands. Don't be weird about shit, and if it feels unnatural or uncomfortable, don't do it like that, or at least question it.
Yeah, take a step back and take a look at the situation.
Yeah, like there's only one way to get an endoscope shoved up your ass. There's no comfortable or safe or secure or relaxing way to do that. So sometimes you just have to take your medicine. But if you're doing something and like look for those shortcuts. Maybe that's it. But you kind of do want to look for shortcuts because you don't want to do. It's like riding a bike. Like if you had to relearn how to ride a bike and like coordinate all those muscles again, like once it gets going, it's so easy because you're moving along with it. But you also have to keep your ass in gear and looking around. That's the important part. Life is kind of like that. I feel like clumsy people are on their bike, but like looking at their front tire. It's always too late, and then they run into some shit, and they're like, "Ow!"
No, they're looking behind them.
Or behind him, yeah. That's the thing. Nothing's back there. Like, you can only go one way. Okay, so Randy, here's a story for you.
Hit me.
This is gonna mark me as a weirdo, but I'm gonna try and.
Don't be a weirdo. Here's a story.
I'm gonna try and justify it.
You gonna wear your Scarlet Letter, dude?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's the exception that proves the rule. But I walk around with a cane at work and, out in public sometimes because, especially at work, because there are dudes there who will smoke crack 3 feet from the mailbox. And I find a lot of used needles, and there's a lot of violent graffiti, and I found a bullet over there once. So it's a nice symbol, a nice hard piece of wood to keep between me and the crackheads.
It's fair, but I think that would mark you as someone would seem to have a disability.
Right.
Well, that's part of Sun Tzu's art of war. You want to appear weak when you are strong and appear strong when you are weak, because I would rather appear weak and have someone test my boundaries to get whacked in the head for looking weak than to actually be weak. So that's when you are feeling weak, look strong so people won't fuck with you.
Okay.
But moral of the story is, it's a long walk from my office to the mailbox on the other side of this big cul-de-sac shopping center, whatever, mini mall. So I'm walking and there's a dude camped out behind the building. hanging out by all of our power boxes. I assume trying to steal copper out of there because it's open and there's a bunch of shit missing. So I'm walking and I got my senses up. I'm on alert because I'm not going to get taken out by these fuckers. So I see the dude and I'm like, okay, like you're on alert. Know that that's there. So there's windows everywhere. I'm keeping an eye. This dude is following me. This dude is keeping his distance, but now he is following me through my circuit of the parking lot toward the mailbox. And he's getting closer and closer and closer. So finally this dude, I'm, 10 feet from the mailbox, he's getting closer and closer. Now he's like singing and humming and he's like really juiced up and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, don't, and I'm keeping an eye back there on him, obviously. So, finally I had enough. Like, I spin around on this dude. I get my cane up at him. I throw my hands up. I'm like, hey, can I help you? Like, do you need something? He's like, whoa, man, hey, yo, can I get like $7? And I'm like, I have zero cash. So you need to keep moving along. And whatever, just like keep, dude was like getting up at me. He's like, I need $7. I need $7. I'm like, no, I don't have $7. I don't carry cash. Who carries cash? It's 2021.
Yeah, I feel like that vagabond is on its way out. Yeah, because what do they call it? I can't panhandling.
Cash will have to exist always, simply because crime will need it, and kids who will get allowance will need it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not like when Elliot's old enough to get allowance, I'm not going to go down and set him up a bank account and be like, here's your debit card, now spend wisely.
I do need to set him
$5 a week if you do a good job.
Yeah, and then don't overdraft because that'll cost you $35. But yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I don't know why I digress there, but dudes come up on me wanting money, and I'm like, no, not gonna happen. So scram, and he took a wide berth, and I'm not saying he would have come up and shiv me or whatever, bum rush me, but it's like 7:30 in the morning. There's just me and him out there. I would like to have this piece of wood between me and him, and it served its function.
No, I can understand that.
So it made me feel less like a weirdo. That's what I'll say. So when I got to
make you feel justified.
Yeah, like maybe it was he saw the cane and thought, I'm going to take this guy's money. But when I turned on it, I was like, no, not today, buddy. Like, shuffle on. Maybe I found something I was looking for too, because you can be a weirdo that way. That's how cryptozoologists become weirdos. Is you say, oh, I'm going to go look for Bigfoot, because if you look for anything, you're going to find it. You'll convince yourself that a dog turd is a Bigfoot turd, that a lump in a bog was something Bigfoot did, or like a smashed thing is like a Bigfoot footprint or whatever. Don't be that guy either. So I also want to keep in mind that possibly I was looking for something and found it.
Yeah, all signs point to Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, this might be my Bigfoot encounter. I did take a sample of his droppings for analysis.
Perfect.
Oh, good. That's important.
I brought him back to the lab. So, pending the investigation, might have been Bigfoot. So Randy, what's happening on your end of the world? Is there anything going on? Have you picked up any new hobbies, working on any new projects?
So I've actually been spending a lot of time in my little wood shop lately.
So anything big going on?
I'm building a box. So, that's exciting.
All right. I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I have a bunch of projects in the pipeline. I made a plaque for my friend that's getting married this weekend. I'm building that box for a woman I work with for her dog's ashes to go into.
So, with this woodworking thing, let me ask you something. Do you have access to like an establishment that sells fine hardwood?
I have like a Home Depot. And then I do have like a lumber mill in town. I just haven't been there yet to check them out. But I do have one pretty local.
Woodworking is a hard thing to get into if you don't have a store nearby that sells all the weird exotic shit, because you can only do so much with pine.
So the box I'm making out of oak, and this is the first time I ever worked with hardwood, and I'm finding oak to be, I don't want to say difficult.
It is though. Like when I was woodworking, I loved mahogany in every form. I love that hard, dark shit, and the lighter stuff too. And It was a pain. Like it's hard to get finished. But it was one of those things where I loved sanding. I still love to sand objects. The repetitive nature of removing something a little by little is so fascinating to me.
I think you're the only person.
I probably am.
It's my least favorite task.
I probably am, but I've done it so much in my life. I realized I just have to flip that switch and realize that I like it. I can't get it over it anymore. But I made a bunch of stuff out of mahogany, and I would spend hours on every grit being like, nope, this needs a little more 220. No, we're going back to the 120. This doesn't look right. And I would go all the way up to like 400, 600, 800 just for a piece of wood.
Jeez. Getting it baby smooth.
Oh, yeah. It like I had the glossiest, like all my projects at the end of the day were like glass finish. But also keep in mind, I am the same person who got a piece of raw obsidian, like a piece of volcanic glass. It's roughly 8 inches tall. And over the course of several months, just using a dish rag and powder abrasive, rubbed one side to a mirror shine.
It's true. I witnessed it.
It took forever. And it's the most beautifully polished stone you'll ever see, and it took forever.
Yep.
And just to look at it, you'd never know I threw 900 million hours of my time into it.
He would just sit there.
Any job worth doing is worth doing right.
Yeah. And, people say, well, you start big. Whatever. Let's take our time and do it right.
Yeah.
Plus, where am I going?
That's true.
Like now that that thing's polished to within an inch of its life and it's done, now what? I mean, I'm not getting that.
Do the other side.
Yeah, I now have a polished stone. I'm not going to get that time back. I was just using it to watch TV. So now, here's the thing, Randy. Have you been watching, or at least faking watching our self-defense classes?
I watched a bit of the first one, but no.
Here's the thing. Don't worry about it. Just get yourself some sticks.
Okay.
And like since I picked up stick fighting, it's such an easy thing to do. Like come home and just stand in front of the TV or stand in whatever or sit down. You can do it however you want and just go through the motions. And it's fun. And it's one of those things where like, I'm one of these people who like exercise. That's like boring. But if you can because like weightlifting, I would do, but it was like pulling teeth. I fucking hated it. I did it like 6 days a week for like 6 or 7 years, and I hated every second of it. And,
I love lifting. I hate cardio.
Like it was just so boring to me. Like I got swole. Like I was like 175, and I'm at 120 now. So that's like the difference. But like it was so boring, and like the only skill it gave me was the ability to lift things that were heavy. But with stick fighting, you can pick up like a pair of Indian clubs or whatever, and not only are you like building muscle and all that other stuff that you would be doing at the gym anyway, but like very few people can step out of the gym and be like, thanks to those butterfly curls, I can defend myself. Like, I want to double dip. I'm a lazy guy. I think we've established this. I'm lazy. So if I can work out and also trick myself into doing something else, that's why people try and teach themselves languages while they sleep.
That's true.
And now that, Randy, look into it. I'm telling you, the Indian clubs are one of my favorite things now.
I like those.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll give it a peek.
And after you're done, like you pick up a pair of Eskrima sticks and you can wail. And so like, I don't know. That's my problem is everybody's like, oh, you got to work out. I'm like, yeah, I know. But the problem is it's not fucking fun. And people don't want to do stuff that isn't fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Unless you're the type of person who likes going to the gym, like gets a rush out of lifting and like you're that guy, which I'm not knocking. That's great. It's not for me, man. Like I would rather swing a couple sticks around or some clubs around and get, whatever fit that way. Because the dude who comes out of the gym, he's banking on that girth to scare off predators. And I'd rather have like the ability to strike like
talent.
You don't want to be like a puffer. You want to be like a puff adder. You don't want to get blown up and have no skill. You want to be able to strike and, also have no legs and arms.
Well, I do think this is more fun than like doing this here.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, it's more fun than going to the gym. Like even if you go in a group or whatever and you're talking or chatting or you're having fun with a friend, you still are having to take breaks where you're sitting at the machine or you're lifting the weight doing it like
Yeah.
And the other person just has to stand there awkwardly and be like, see, when Chris and I get in front of the TV, we can do a Sinawali drill or like a punching drill or whatever and watch TV or talk or whatever, and you're just sort of drilling it in.
Yeah.
And it's not boring. As I'm saying, Randy, do it.
I'll check it out. I will.
And then you can teach, because everybody needs to, and eventually you're going to come out in contact with somebody else. Teach it to them too. So every time you meet them, be like, hey, let's do that drill.
Let's do that thing.
Let's do that thing. Because it impresses people. Like, I'm telling you, it's very simple movements that look very flashy that will always impress someone. Like if I took Krista and we went to a party and I was like, hey, check this out. And I threw a punch at her and we started going into our little drill, people would shit their pants. But it's the 4 simplest moves in the galaxy. But if we can get it to a point where it's sharp and tight, it would make people lose their goddamn minds. I know because I've seen it happen to myself.
You could even, this is stuff that you could even start teaching Rose, your daughter.
Rosie, yeah. Yeah, Rosie.
I mean, I wish when I was a little kid I was in some kind of martial arts or something, just to have had learned any kind of, not self-discipline, but any.
I don't want to, extol.
Structure.
Yeah, I don't want to extol the virtues of solely, martial arts because, any exercise you're going to do is going to break up all the chemicals that are collecting in your brain and in your muscles and get all the blood flowing. And anything is going to be positive. I'm just saying, I went through it all. As a child, I did gymnastics, I did swimming, I did this, that, and the other thing. And it wasn't until I found, karate where it was oh, this is something I can actually fucking use. When I'd go to the gymnastics thing and we'd do all of our things, that was something I could bring zero into the real world of, to me.
You don't want to do back handsprings down the sidewalk, Dave?
Yeah, I can, and if I tried today, I probably still could stand on my hands. But what am I gonna do with that? Is someone gonna be like, "Hey, look out! This floor is electric to feet," and I have to be like, "This is my time to shine."
The time is
I
now.
got this. Buckle up.
Yeah, I would rather have that old school, and it's kind of that thing too where you say, oh yeah, it's martial arts, you can tie it to a long lineage. So if you're one of those dudes who's super into history, you can tap into that aspect of it. If you like ceremony, you can tap into that aspect of it. If you just like punching the air and grunting, I mean, it's for me, it's got everything. Do whatever, because people, I can't tell you what to do to make you happy. But if you're lazy like this guy over here, and you're going to do something anyway, double dip, make it do 2 things at once, possibly 3. If I could find something that would do 3 things for me at once, I would never leave the house probably.
Yeah, well, there's
it
no
would be
reason to.
the perfect scam, but it would be it would also have a perfect system, an energy lossless machine. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I think double dipping is probably the apex.
Probably. Yeah.
So think about it, Randy. Start double dipping, and that part of that is too. You get to double dip
make
everywhere.
some nice poplar screamless.
Oh, here's what I want. I want a local flavor. A tree.
Don't have a lathe.
Out here, I don't have shit. So my problem is I need to commission someone to get a piece of local Arizona ironwood and commission me a couple of Eskrima sticks and some chucks. Because I want a local hardwood thing, so that'll be my gimmick. But everywhere I search for it, I can only find chunks the size of my thumb, and they're already carved into Roadrunners. And even if I could get my hands on it, I have 0 woodworking material at this time.
What is that? Just ironwood, you said?
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's a million different trees out there colloquially known as ironwood. This is one of them. They are from here to Asia, and there's a million different woods out there called ironwood.
Oh, good.
But the local Arizona ironwood is what I'm talking about, because there's a type of wood in Asia they use to make Eskrima sticks that they also call ironwood that starts with a K that I'm blanking on. But moral of the story is, I want a local Arizona, and it's a nice red color sort of thing too, but it's been a trial that I'm sure you found very interesting hearing about.
No, I was into it. I think Eskrima, that's Nightwing's thing,
Yeah, that's the thing. And if you want to, Eskrima sticks and that sort of thing has an 11. Everything you're going to get into has an 11. Nobody sells Eskrima sticks that are combat ready in the shape of Robin or Nightwing. However, they're Eskrima sticks, however. Combative makes a deluxe and a regular form of light up LED Eskrimas that this guy wants to get his hands on so bad, but will never be able to justify a price tag of $200.
No.
Yeah, no.
But 180 for the regular model, that might be attainable someday.
Oy.
Oh,
Can't remember if I shared this story with you before or not, but once I wanted to go to a Halloween party as Nightwing, and I wanted to get cattle prod sticks as
What?
my Eskrima. I was told that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
But-
100%.
I feel like it would have been really popular for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there were no batteries in them, then they'd probably be okay. But like all the arcing and the loud noise probably scare off all the people.
Probably turn some people off.
But that's the thing. Like you can just get a pair of plastic Nightwing Eskrima sticks because let's be real. What are the odds you're going to be in public and you just happen to have your combat ready Nightwing Eskrima sticks you special ordered and paid $500 for? No, they're going to be at home in a fucking case. So like a
They're going
plastic,
to be on display.
yeah, like a plastic pair you made yourself and then spray painted to knock around. That's what you want to do. Oh man, yeah, like everybody has those greatest plans. Whatever you get into, you say, "Oh, when this thing gets cranked up to 11, I'll have this. This will be the situation." And at the end of it, in my head at least, I'm always standing on a big pile of money, and I have a cape on, and the sun is setting behind me, and my cape is flowing in the wind, and everything works out perfectly. And it all began.
Everything's hunky dory.
Yeah, and it all begins with a light up Eskrima stick. 2 actually, because you need double for the Sinawali.
It opened the gateway.
That's all I need. Every plan that I ever have ends in success and always starts with a very minimal investment. Minimal. And then I'm a superhero with money. Because, let's be real. You go out into the night with a pair of light up
You got to
Eskrima
spend
sticks.
money to make money.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I'm, whatever. Let's say I'm not a Batman type character because I don't have all that money. But let's say I lurk in the shadows. I got those light up Eskrimas. I see something go down. I come out of the shadows. Bring orange Eskrimas just erupt in the alley in the darkness. Bam, bam, bam.
A kick-ass type hero.
Yeah, kind of. That's the same. Or Daredevil is more of my touchstone. He uses Eskrima sticks too. But yeah, you come out and beat the shit out of the guy. Make an earnest effort to return the money. If I couldn't, I would keep it. And that's how you make
How
money.
earnest is earnest?
I mean, within reason. Like if I go, if I run into the guy and the woman is blocks away, like a classic Burton Batman, like the purse was snatched 3 blocks ago. She's given up. These dudes are gassed. No thanks. I'm keeping that. I'll drop the IDs back at the police station. Maybe I'll bring the purse back, keeping the cash as a reward. That's what you get for vigilante justice. That's what keeps you honest.
Everything at a cost.
Yeah, but that's how it goes. You got to spend money to make money. So with a nice black hoodie, some ninja shoes, and some light up Eskrima sticks, I could be kicking ass and taking money.
You hear that, Krista? We'll be
Yeah.
protecting Apache Junction.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll still have my day job, so I'll be shit at both, and eventually you get killed and be addicted to Vicodin, and I'll be like the old Bruce Wayne in all the washed up comics in no time. But
Tired and grumpy, not personable at all.
yeah, like my ribs will always be bandaged, and my knuckles will always be bloody, and my boss will always be like, "Why are you so tired and beat up all the time?" And I'm always having to explain away black eyes. That's what it's like to be a real superhero. It's like you go everywhere getting your ass kicked. You have to wear those scars. You don't get to wake up the next day and be like, Bruce Wayne, looking good.
Handsome again.
Yeah, you have to look like shit if you get hit in the head with a bottle. That's the penalty for getting into a fight. I don't want to fight though. Fighting sucks.
Isn't that what you're like training for though? Is to protect yourself if you have to fight?
That's the thing. You don't want to, but if you
you're
have
not hunting
to,
it.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm just doing it for the exercise. Like if I get like really ripped shoulders and arms and shit, that'll be great. Mm-hmm. If I ever have to stop a murderer from murdering me, that's icing on the cake. I don't think it's going to happen. The statistics show that murder happens so seldom. And since it's not like the 60s and 70s, like the heyday of the serial killer, they're getting caught like second or third victim unless they're like really crazy. So, I mean, we've never been safer. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've never been safer as a species, as humans, and as a society. So just, relax. But it's still fun to like punch and kick. Although I'm dropping the kicks because I find it wastes a lot of energy for very little payoff. Controversial opinion, I know. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about kicks, Randy? You gonna get into a fight? You gonna throw some kicks?
Probably not. I've taken some boxing classes, so I'm more of a boxer.
Yeah, when you start out in the martial arts as a kid, they really focus on kicks, I think, for balance. But as you get older and you move toward like the softer arts, you realize they
I think
drop.
Unless you're doing like Muay Thai or like BJJ, like you're not really going to be kicking people.
Well, and even with BJJ, that's more of like grappling. You're going to be using that as leverage. But here's the thing: Taekwondo is the thing that everybody did. Everybody, like, you went to the YMCA, you got your gi, you did your Taekwondo. I never did Taekwondo because I was like, this is not a martial art; it's a sport.
I think I did a week of that when I was doing a hockey boot camp.
Yeah, I mean, if you like it, it's fine, but don't call it a martial art. It's a sport. Because you would never, ever do a hammer kick, like a front axe hammer kick, on anybody ever.
It's such a vulnerable position.
Yeah. If at any time you feel it's a good idea to lift one of your feet above your head in an attempt to smash it down under the shoulder of your attacker, you have lost the fight. So as I get older and I realize, like, your arms can go out and you can... if you lose an arm, someone grabs an arm, you still got another one. Someone grabs one of your legs, you're on the ground. You've lost it all.
That's it.
So that's the thing I'm learning too, is like doing all these kicks when I was young. I was like, why am I doing all these? Like, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to start kicking the people in your class and for them to immediately grab your leg.
Right.
Like, so you have to be the fastest kicker. Maybe that's it. Yeah. Like, if you're the fastest kicker, kick your dick off. I don't care. But the average person is not going to kick fast enough to get around that dude catching your leg, or that whoever's there, that dog, whoever's there, you got to kick.
I feel the average person throwing a kick is going to be so telegraphed that it's probably going to miss anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, keep your legs under your ass, man. Like, don't give those up. Those are gold. You want to give up an arm? Like, you want to get pulled into a scuffle? That's your own thing. But don't give your fucking legs up.
Yeah, sprawl.
I've got a soft spot for the knee because that's a nice, quick in and out sort of thing that doesn't offer a lot, so they can't take. But you have to get in real close to use it, so I like to stay back, so I don't use it a lot. I mean, I've never used it in a real life situation, obviously, but I don't practice it a lot because I know I don't want to use it. Kicks are nice in sparring because you can keep the dude back. In a street fight, if you're going to throw your knee into some dude's dick or his face or whatever, you got to be so close. You're like seeing the sweat in the back of his neck. No thanks.
Yeah, you got to make that count, too.
Yeah, I take the outside. I go bam, 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 and I go see you later. I don't want to, like, a lot of dudes, whatever. A lot of the prevailing thing is like attack the balls and like whatever. I don't want to like go and I've been kicked in the nuts before.
Well, there's no fair fight in a street fight.
No, but that's the thing. A kick to the nuts is not a 100% incapacitating shot. I've been kicked in the nuts accidentally and been dropped like a sack of shit, and I've been kicked in the nuts purposefully and vengefully and walked away with no problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's the surprise ones that tend to hurt more.
It doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't matter. The balls are so precarious down there. It's like a speed bag. Unless you're really good at working that bag and you know the movements of that bag, or you're just lucky, the odds are rather is you're going to miss, or it's going to swing wide, or it's going to squish out of the way, so you're going to miss. The sack is a movable target, and you want as little mobility.
This is squish.
Yeah. And plus, like, let's say you do hit him square in the nuts. Let's say you split the sack and a ball goes on either side of the foot or the knee or the whatever. Very little damage done. Like, you impact their pubic bone and you're like, okay, we're still fighting. Like, you want to go nose or eyes. Like, their nose can't move. It doesn't have balls to worry about.
It doesn't squish out of the way.
And the eyeballs can't escape. They're in bone. Like, your nuts are like dogs off the leash. They are like the 2 paddleball balls unfettered by the paddle. Don't go after those, is what I'm saying. You'll waste your time attacking people's balls.
I hope the show is titled something about balls.
Unless it's their eyeballs. Stick to the balls that don't move around.
Yeah. Go for the northern balls.
Yeah, stick to the northern balls.
That's the title right there.
Yeah, we'll stick to the northern balls.
Yep.
Get your highlighter. Stay safe. Oh boy, Randy, why don't we start wrapping up the show? Do you want to recommend our listeners something?
Yes, and I think I have a good one this time because I know historically I'm pretty flat with my recommendations.
Nobody has a great track record except for me.
I'm going to recommend Yellowstone with Kevin Costner TV series.
Is that new?
It's on the Peacock.
Okay, so it's like a
streaming
CBS
service. And
Let me see.
I think it's like Xfinity.
Yeah.
But it's with Kevin Costner, and he's like owns Yellowstone Ranch, and it's really good.
I'm curious, are you a liker of Kevin Costner's work like I'm a liker of Steven Seagal's work?
I don't like many Kevin Costner things. From what I've seen, like Danceable Wolves is okay, but the rest of them I just kind of meh. But
Yeah,
this is a really good series.
He's a very specific actor. There's very few characters he can click into, but for some reason everybody's like, get him in our movie, man.
Yeah, this I feel is a really good fit for him. I think they did a good job with him here, and like he's like the main character, but also minor enough of appearances that the other cast really carries it well.
Okay, so yeah, like it's not centering around him because I imagine that would
No.
probably be to the detriment.
He's like the head of the ranch, like owner of the ranch, head of the family, but he's not the main character.
This feels a lot like The Ranch, the Netflix show.
With Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, but they had a Sam Elliott as the Kevin Costner analog.
I think this might be a bit more gritty.
Oh, I'm sure it
This
is.
is
Netflix has about as many teeth as a newborn chick. Like, they're made for Netflix shit anyway. By
That's
and large.
fair. I know this is really good. It's like produced by Paramount, so it's like their big thing, their big
All right.
show.
All right, it's a little bit of self-promotion. I've been doing that a lot lately, but I'm in another show called Raiders of the Lost Genre with my buddy Scott. He was just on the last episode, so I'm going to double down on that. The most recent episode that came out is probably my favorite so far. Guanji is still my favorite movie. This is my favorite episode. So Raiders of the Lost Genre, there's a link on the Facebook or on the website. You can get to it. Krista, do you want to recommend anything?
If you...
Oh, stick fighting. Shit, stick fighting. That too, stick fighting.
Oh, I guess I can recommend
really
stick fighting.
Yeah, I fell heavy into a Screama, man. Like, I've watched like 6 documentaries on Escrimadors and Arnis and Kali fighting.
Now you gotta learn Capoeira.
Capoeira is there's no reason to learn Capoeira. Like, if I would say become a black belt in Taekwondo before you even think about taking Capoeira, because it's even less useful than Taekwondo.
It's breakdancing.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, if you like dancing, that's fine. If you like function and form, Escrimadors really seem to... The thing I like about Filipino... I don't mean to walk all over your recommendation, Krista, but the thing I like about the Filipino martial arts is they cut out all the flair. Like when I did Chinese Kung Fu or Aiki Ninjutsu or Kempo, there was still a lot of flourishes, there's a lot of twirls, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance even in like your fighting moves and the stuff they teach you. Whereas a screama, whether it's empty hand, stick, or knife or whatever, it's all the same, and it's all just super direct and very powerful. There's no frills. So it's like when I was doing Chinese Kempo, it's like a 55 Chevy. Like, it's got all the fins and it's chrome and it's beautiful
Solid.
to look at, but it's dangerous because it's old and kind of unsafe and needs to be updated. Whereas, like, even though it's older in some cases, like a Screama is like it's like a motorcycle. Like it's an engine, 2 wheels, and a handlebar. Not 2 handlebars, 1 handlebar. Like, it's so lean, it doesn't even need the 2. I think that's what I like about it. Now that I'm lazy, very little frills. They have 12 basic strikes. But yeah, Chris.
Fair enough.
If you are into indoor plants at all, or want to try and don't have any local places, like that's not a Home Depot or Lowe's, there's a website called heyrooted.com, and their plants are really inexpensive and they ship really quickly and they're packaged really well. Like, whenever I get an order, I don't have dirt all over the house because they pack it really well. And
plants seem like one of those things where you can like really fuck someone over.
Yeah. I ordered a plant from Etsy once, and I opened it and there was no plant in it. It was just dirt.
Or it's like practically a glitter bomb
Right.
with a plant in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So what was that place again, Krista?
It's called heyrooted.com.
All right. Oh, maybe I'll throw another. There's a bunch of cheap. Nah, screw it. Oh, fuck it. Guys, if you want to get in contact with us, go to the website. It's all there. We're on Facebook and the Discord and all that other stuff. If you want to hear something, I know the show's all over the place as I jump from thing to thing. So if you want us to do something, I do have some classic stuff planned, so don't worry about that. But if you want to see us branch out into something that we haven't yet, or if you wanted to return to something that we've done before, I'm open to suggestions at this point. So, Randy, once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, until next week, I'm Dave.
I'm Krista.
I'm Randy.
Saying, I guess pick up a stick and train. TV's on, just do it. See you next week.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.